you just caught me with a little bit of light reading. I do love a good horror story, especially this time of year. In fact, I kind of love Halloween all round. It's my favourite time of the year. And it kind of got me thinking recently. I don't know if you watched my last discussion video. I was going through a possible Iron Man retro wave for Marvel Legends. Because to be fair, we have so many retro waves at the moment. You have those first big four, like the classic Marvel, X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four. And now we're getting like Iron Man and Ghost Rider from the 90s. They're all brilliant, they're all great, they're all pretty nostalgic for me. But I'll be honest, I think there's a bit of a glaring omission. When I was younger, there was a very small line of Marvel action figures from Toy Biz that really spoke to me, and they were grails for a lot of my life. I'm of course talking about Marvel History, The Dark Side. A set of 4 figures that were exclusives to, I think it was Previews, the magazine. And yeah, they were just 4 fantastic horror themed figures from Marvel's history, and I saw them once as a child and I was hooked, and I couldn't get them when I was a kid. To be honest with you, the Man-Thing figure was my toy grail for years, and I managed to pick him up a couple of years ago for a very reasonable price. But just looking how macabre and horror themed they are, they're just fantastic, because really when you get down to it, Marvel has a great history with horror. It's had horror magazines and horror books for years, ever since the Comics Code authorities have eased back their rulings on vampires and werewolves and stuff in the 70s. Marvel had a great run of horror themed books, from Tomb of Dracula, Frankenstein's Monster, Werewolf by Night, The Man-Thing, Adventures into Fear, Tales of Suspense coming back as a horror story. They were all fantastic reads, and they were all interconnected with the main Marvel universe. So horror was, in essence, a core factor of Marvel, and that toy line really represented that by showing and cementing it in the history of Marvel. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking of approaching now. What if Hasbro decided to do a Marvel Legends retro wave based upon, Marvel History: The Dark Side? I have a few ideas. Now, yeah, again, if you watch my last retro wave sort of like breakdown or idea video, but there's certain rules that have seemed to have appeared in retro waves. So let me just break these down for you. Okay, first of all, there's 6 figures per wave. Easy to ship. A nice figure, a nice number of figures. Okay. Second of all, of those 6 figures, 2 of them are normally just straight up repaints, with maybe like the tiniest little added accessory from another figure, but 99% repaints. Next of all, 2 of them will be retools, by which I mean they'll be pre-existing sculpts with a few new added parts or a few parts swapped over. Not exactly repaints, more in depth with how's the best way to describe this? Not as much a repaint as just taking a pre-existing figure or pre-existing part, mixing them together, adding a few new ones, and creating a kit bash of a figure. But as I say, I'll call it a retool. It's easier to think of. And finally, 2 figures that are entirely brand new sculpts. No reuse of parts, just all new from the get-go. Okay, so looking at those rules, these are my ideas for what we might see if Hasbro did do a Marvel's History: The Dark Side, should I say, retro line. Okay, up first, the repaints. In that original line, you had an astral projection form of Doctor Strange. Really nice figure. It was just a repaint of their existing Doctor Strange figure from, I think, the Spider-Man line, in a really nice white and pearlescent blue, and just look at it, it looks very ethereal. I kind of like it. So yeah, the first figure would have to be a astral form of Doctor Strange, because that's something he does in the comic books quite a lot, is he projects his astral form out of his body, and it's normally illustrated as semi-translucent blue and whites, and that's something that's actually been replicated in Marvel Legends in toy form already a few times, mainly for the movie and 1 or 2 exclusives. But as you can see, the effect works really well. So my suggestion would be taking that retro Doctor Strange figure, the classic Doctor Strange figure that came out last year, I think, or earlier this year, I'm not entirely sure which, and applying the plastic and paint techniques that they've used with the, let's say, the Miles Morales invisible figure, the Gameverse Miles Morales, the figure of him in his invisible form. That blue and sort of very very translucent paint. That would pop fantastically as a Doctor Strange figure. Okay, first figure done. Next up is the Man-Thing. Oh, come on, you didn't think I was actually going to do this without saying we need a new Man-Thing figure. I always want a new Man-Thing figure. But yeah, the Man-Thing. Just horror staple of Marvel. One of their greatest unique creations. I'm not going to go into the whole Man-Thing, Swamp Thing debate here. But Man-Thing has always been a staple of Marvel horror. He's even appeared in the MCU now, in the Werewolf by Night special. Looks fantastic, by the way. That is a fantastic special. Go watch it. I highly recommend it. It is just brilliant. It's probably the best MCU thing I've seen in quite a while. But anyway, Man-Thing was in that, so he's definitely in the popular... Well, he's in the zeitgeist of Marvel fans, MCU fans at the moment. And like Doctor Strange figure before, he was in that original wave, and he was my action figure grail. I've got a copy now, still sealed away. But yeah, just... Oh, it's a beautiful thing. So, as an idea, well... Okay, Man-Thing is kind of a big character, but I think you can justify that, because if you look at the Fantastic Four retro wave, they had the Thing, and that's a big, heavy figure, really chunky, a lot of weight to it, but they still added that as a single-carded figure. And I don't see why they can't just do that and just re-release the Man-Thing, build a figure with a new, more vibrant paint scheme, or perhaps more comic-accurate paint scheme. Not only that, but if you want to be like really, really interesting in how you release these figures, that Werewolf by Night special was black and white. Well, as in black and white, just say like a classic film. You could take that Build-A-Figure and kind of just repaint it black and white. I mean, I'd happily buy that. I mean, I think you can agree that a black and white looking figure, especially of a horror character, looks absolutely stunning. Okay, so onto the remolds. First up, I just want to address something. So far I've been doing re-releases of characters in that original wave, or that original toy line. One of those figures was Dormammu. Okay looking figure, but we've had a fantastic classic Dormammu recently in that Zenmu Villains wave, and I kind of think we don't need another one doing just yet. But we do need a figure that sort of fills that demonic, hell-themed role, and well, I can't think of anyone better for the role than Blackheart. Yep, the son of Mephisto, that's it. If ever you played a Marvel vs. Capcom game, or a Marvel game by Capcom, you know what he's like in there, and he is a unique character, loads of presence, and a kind of a favourite of mine. Even in the comic books, he always looks just absolutely stunning, especially when he's drawn by Romita, or even like most modern artists. As long as they go for that really great scratchy aesthetic with his appearance, he always looks just... Look at him, he's gorgeous. There actually was a Marvel Legends figure. I actually have this in my collection, strange enough, because I do have some Marvel some Marvel superheroes themed Marvel Legends. It was an okay figure. It was really great for the time. It was articulated really well. Obviously, articulation has moved on since then, but as you can see, looking at that figure, it's sculpted fantastically with loads of surface detail. It's incredibly lanky and not quite the right physique, but the idea is there. So I was thinking about what body would work best for this figure, and I actually think if they took the Sony Venom figure, that's a perfect base. I mean, it's large, it's imposing, it's sculpted really well, it's got a textured detail just like you want for Blackheart, it's got claws, it's got this alien physique. All you'd really have to do is change the colour of it and add a new head, the classic, or the iconic Blackheart, multiple dreadlocks, add a tail onto it, and yeah, I've got to say, I think you're onto a winner with that one. That looks, très magnifique. Okay, next one's going to be a kit bash. Werewolf by Night. Yet again, he's in the zeitgeist at the moment for MCU fans because of his special. Marvel's premier werewolf, the lycanthrope himself, Jack Russell. Just let that stupid name sink in for a second. But he really deserves an action figure. In fact, he did have one from Marvel Legends quite a while ago. Toy Biz released a 4-figure set of Marvel monsters. I nearly got this thing ages ago, and I missed it. Someone else bought it. It's a real shame, because this is a stunning box set. It was obviously Werewolf by Night, the Zombie, Frankenstein, and Dracula. All just stunning looking figures. And the Werewolf by Night's figure, yeah, I mean, people still buy it nowadays because it's still a good looking figure. But the question becomes, what would we do with it nowadays? Well, what would we do nowadays to make a Werewolf by Night figure? So, taking the design, the modern design, I'm just going to use the design, well, the movie design, the MCU design. What would we do with this? I suggest taking the Jackal figure from the Spider-Man, I think it was the SPDR builder figure, because that's got a lovely texture to it. It's got claws, it's got hair all over the body. Use that as a base. Extend the pants a little bit. Obviously, I've made them into like slightly torn off cargo shorts, but you can always extend it further down the leg. Give him the nice brown fur coloured and deco, and a new Werewolf by Night inspired head, and I think that works fantastically. That looks really, really great. Actually, there's also something else you could do with this figure, because that original toy line didn't have Werewolf by Night, but it did have the Spider-Man villain Vermin. It was like 90% the same sort of design, it's just with a more rat-like face. So why not, as a nice little bonus, throw in an alternative head so you could turn the Werewolf by Night figure into Vermin. Like, getting more, bang for your buck. Adding an extra head just to get another character, it's a great deal. Okay, now on to the last section, new sculpts. First off, it's got to be the titular horror character in Marvel, Dracula. His comic book, The Tomb of Dracula, was the longest running comic book with a villain as the main character, and it was just a stunning read. I really, really enjoy it. And it, as I said, had a figure in that 4-pack from Toy Biz. It was okay. It was definitely Dracula. It was a guy in a suit with a cape and a pretty okay face sculpt, I must admit. But let's try doing something new. So I'll take the original design and we're going to give him a new suited body. And I know what you're thinking, I've just thrown up the Morlun figure when I'm saying this should be a new sculpt. It's just for illustrative purposes. So yeah, we'll make a brand new male suited book. Make it pinless. Make it like it's more of a fitted jacket. Kind of like this. Obviously, I've just edited that Morlun a little bit, but you get what I mean. I've took the pins off, made it more of a waistcoat than a long tailcoat, and add on the Dracula details like the cape and the head. And I'll be honest, folks, this isn't my best work on Photoshop, but you get what I mean. You could quite easily make a nice Dracula, creating a new pinless male suited book. Have a lot of reuse out of it. Let's face it, there's a lot of characters out there in the Marvel Universe that just wear suits. So having a new pinless modern one with great articulation, maybe working like butterfly joints, all the double joints and everything, as a place to start, I think this would be a fantastic choice. And finally, for new sculpts, Frankenstein's monster. They actually had a really, really terrific comic book run by Marvel. I actually kind of have this as one of my favourite comic book runs of all time. I actually read it when I was a kid. I picked up some of the omnibuses where they collected all the issues together, and it's really a great read. It's Frankenstein, so it's melancholic, it's sad, but it's still at the same time really enthralling and a great read. And yet again, he had a figure in that 4-figure pack by Toy Biz. Not exactly the greatest representation of the character. I kind of get what they were going for. I mean, they got like the Marvel design for him down mostly. Like he's got the giant bear skin jacket, the big torn pants. But I think they've used the legs from something a bit more modern, so he's got more modern looking boots. And it was a nice effort, but it wasn't quite there. Because if you look at his classic design, he has got like a long sleeve shirt, a long sleeve top, that bear skin jacket round him with no sleeves, tattered pants and tied, I don't know, rags round his feet, maybe sort of like boots, and his wonderful like gnarled and distorted features. And I think this is one of the greatest designs for Frankenstein from us. I know the classic, not Bela Lugosi. Oh no, yeah, Bela Lugosi. No. Oh no, how have I forgotten who the great Frankenstein was for Universal? Boris Karloff. Thank God, I'd have been shot in the streets if I'd forgotten that. Yeah, Boris Karloff's Frankenstein is fantastic, but I really like this one as well. This is one of my favourites. And if you wanted to recreate it, they could probably go along the lines of taking a larger figure. I'm just going to throw up the Sandman builder figure as a sort of like a sense of scale of figure they could use. I mean, they could almost reuse this figure. It's got the right sort of barrel chest, but they'd have to do something of a similar scale, a large, imposing, muscular male figure. As I said, all brand new sculpt, getting those details, get that jacket, the torn clothes, the dour, the sort of melancholic and distorted features. It would be nearly Build-A-Figure size, but as I say, if they can release the Thing in the Fantastic Four Retro Wave, I think they can budget in a appropriate figure for Frankenstein. Well, that's it. Those are the 6 figures I suggest, or I've thought up, for a retro wave based around Marvel History of the Dark Side. Astral Projection Doctor Strange, the Man-Thing, Blackheart, Werewolf by Night, Dracula and Frankenstein. And I honestly think, like, if they did this wave and they timed its release in October for Halloween, they would fly off the shelves, or they'd be pre-ordered instantly. I can really imagine people going for this as a wave of figures. It's unique, but it's definitely a core part of Marvel's history. And honestly, there were other figures you could do in the wave. Like, I've got 3 other figures that I really think should be made, but I just couldn't fit into the wave, because I think modern sensibilities at Hasbro might curtail them being made. Like, first up is Satana, daughter of the devil, or daughter of, I think, daughter Mephisto currently, the devil's daughter. Really fantastic design. The classics, well, she had several classic designs. I really like the red costume with the pink hair and the devil horns. This would make for a stunning figure. Similarly, Lilith, Dracula's daughter. I love the design of Lilith. Lilith just looks absolutely beautiful. So many great artists have actually had a crack at illustrating her, and she always just looks... she's a perfect femme fatale. She is beautiful. Actually, a weird turn of fate, we actually had a Satana figure released in a multi-pack exclusive for San Diego Comic-Con, I think, in her Thunderbolts costume, which is actually pretty much exactly the same as what Lilith's classic costume was. I mean, you can literally take that Satana figure, swap the head, swap the hands out, give her a slightly smaller cape, and you've got it's a black bodysuit with the centre of the, well, body window exposed. I just thought it was weird that we never got a Lilith figure, but they did release this Satana one, and this Satana one has never been re-released either. I mean, they could re-release that figure and it would sell, but for whatever reason they haven't. And obviously, if you're doing monsters in the dark side of Marvel history, you've got to do Marvel's greatest monster hunter, Elsa Bloodstone. Again, she's in that fantastic Werewolf by Night special on Disney+, but I love her design. It's just so... all the orange and the stunning colour work, and the character is so cocky and brilliant. And she has there's a mould out there for her. She had a truly brilliant figure in the A-Force box set that came out a couple of years ago. Genuinely, just re-release this figure and it will sell. The character is popular in comic books, popular because of the Disney Plus special for Werewolf by Night. The fact she hasn't been re-released is kind of incredulous. Yeah. If I could have any of these 3 figures released, it'd probably Elsa Bloodstone separately, but I'm greedy and I want all 3. So that's it, folks. Hope you enjoyed this video. As I said, I really hope at some point we get this wave being made, because Hasbro definitely are just hitting all those retro vibes with these retro Marvel Legends waves. It can only be a matter of time before we get Marvel History of the Dark Side, and these are the figures I really want to have in that wave. If you've got your own ideas, if you like the video, even if you didn't like the video, please leave a comment and tell me why, or what your thoughts are. And if you did like the video, please leave a like. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe for more content in the future. And until next time, folks, I want you all to stay safe, stay sane, keep on rolling, and have a fantastic Halloween. And I'll see you all next time. Ta-da!